first dinner he was ever at. This was the first dinner that he was ever at that everyone... Everyone who was there wanted to be there. Last week, we're at Levaya. Everyone was there, didn't want to be there. But if there's going to be a Levaya, they wanted to be there. Everyone wanted to be there. The drushes were inspiring. They weren't too long. They were beautiful. One of my children called me up afterwards and asked me, so did they hit the Nakuda? Did they get it? Did they define the man? You say a story, it's not true of course, it's a mashal. 3 blind men got together and they met an elephant, and each one wanted to define the elephant. So one of them went over, a blind man sees with his hands, and he felt the legs. He said an elephant is like a tree. It's like big and strong and wide. Another one felt the tail and said, what are you talking about? An elephant's like a worm. Another one felt the trunk. He said, well, you guys are way off. An elephant's like a snake. Everyone from their perspective, they see a certain part of it and they think that's what it is. I also do. I'm also wrong. They all didn't get it, and I also don't get it. But I'm Rabbi Brown's shadchan, so he honored me with being able to speak about a man I knew for many years. I met Rabbi David Trenk in 1971 in Camp Monk. All the pictures in the Ated have him as a white beard. I don't remember him that way. I remember him with a black beard. And he was still the same ball of energy. He still was the same comet zooming out of the sky. I used to shepherd him. I mean, those of you who know me know that I did that for many years, almost 50 years. I shepherded him. He said, is it true that you're Rebbe in the mirror? He says, yeah. Is it true you have the bum shear? I'd go nuts. Of course not. It's great, the greatest. I was very impressed with him. And I used to observe him. I'll tell you one interesting story. Tisha B'Av is a long fast day. A long day. And the children have eaten already. Those days was before yeshiva camps. And the campers went up to the 7th, 8th grade, right? CITs, maybe 9, I don't know, essays. I don't remember which letters it was. And they ate most of them. So what are you going to do when the counselors are eating? So one of the senior members of the staff would take the senior division, and Rabbi Dovid took the junior division. And when everyone went to eat, he stood there with them, he told them the story to keep them occupied. And I don't remember if it was my first year in Camp Monk or my second year, but I wanted to watch him. So I probably had my box of Entenmann's and my 2-liter bottle of soda and my 50,000 ounces of potato chips already ready. And I went to the junior division to watch him. It was a stormy night. And Dovid was up there and he had a flashlight. He said, Aaron Goldman, could you please turn off the lights in the back? He said, children, there's a storm tonight. It could be that the lights are going to go out. See, I have a flashlight? See how funny I look? See under my beard? See how funny it is? It could be in the middle of the story. It could be the lights will go out. So I'm going to use this flashlight. Sure enough, middle of the story, the lights went out. And nobody blinked. He told them the lights are going to go out. He had the flashlight, and he continued the story. He said, Aaron Goldman, go to the other place, make sure everything is... It was pandemonium. It was a panic. They were going crazy. By Rabbi Dovid, it was, first of all, the story is mesmerizing. That's for sure. Second of all, it's entertaining. And third of all, they knew what's going to happen, so what's the big deal? That's who he was. He was thoughtful. He thought about things beforehand. You're going to define him. Who is he? He's devoted. He's dedicated. He's his tefillah, his avos habriyas. Yeah, these are all true things about him. But I'm going to tell you something that most people who knew him will be stunned when I tell you this. I might be wrong. This is my perspective. You put me up here, right? So this is what I think. David Trenk was a very shy person. He was a shy person. It was very difficult for him. I knew him. And I'm telling you, he was a shy person. He had to gird his loins to do the things he did. You all think, hey, that's it. Everybody knows. And when I faith became a monk, Rabbi Silverman Zechron Levracha had to make an announcement. There are 3 words that no one in camp is allowed to say anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore. There are 3 words that no one is allowed to say. You want to know what they were, right? Trenk is crazy. This would be chanted in the dining room. This would be chanted on the fields. No, to say it. Don't say it anymore. There have been other crazy people in history. Avraham Avinu didn't want to live by shame. He met Melchizedek. He didn't want to live there. Why not? He went to the desert to live. Why? Because he's going to do stuff that shame is going to think is nuts. You're going to get down on the floor and beg filthy, dirt-worshipping Arabs to come into your house? You have a worker outside. It's a hot day off from a cold drink outside, right? It's cold, you offer him a coffee. You bring him into your house? You bring him for something, you shecht a cow for him to give him a ton? What are you, nuts? Make a bracha. I'm sorry, that's not my religion. Oh, then you'll have to pay for the food. Oh, okay. How much? $1 million. Where else are you going to get a meal like this in the desert? I'm not paying no $1 million for a meal. Oh, Eliezer, we have a guy here who he's taking money without, he doesn't want to pay. Could you get your sword? What do I say? Baruch? Baruch, how do I say it? What are you doing? You're a Rosh Yeshiva. You're busy with that? That's what you're doing? Terrence says he was nuts for Hashem. My wife told me not to say that, but I did it anyway. David Train was nuts for Hashem. How much I tell you? One of the Darshanim by the Levaya said that David Train only saw the good in people. He didn't see the bad. And I don't completely agree with that. I do agree with half of it. He didn't see anything bad. He saw the negative. He did see the negative qualities of people. He didn't care. It didn't bother him. He didn't focus on it. But he knew. I know, because I worked with him for 20 years. Now, many people, they're in the yeshiva, so if they're in a yeshiva with another Rebbe, that means they worked with them. I don't mean that. I don't mean I was in the same yeshiva as him. I mean, I worked with him. I could talk to him about every single boy. He wasn't a nar. He wasn't a naive person. He understood them 1,000%. The positive and the less positive. It didn't matter. He wasn't a bad boy, but he was a human being. He wasn't some fool who thought, oh, this kid is perfect, as he pounded on his jaw to break his jaw. Right? One little boy went berserk, and he grabs him, he holds him down, and the kid yanks his arm out of his grasp and pounds on his jaw again and again and again. Until he could barely open his jaw for weeks. He knew that that's a negative thing. He knew that that's not something that should be done. He didn't give a big kiss on the kepi afterwards. He didn't smack him. He didn't kill him. I don't even know if he threw him out. Later, of course, the person maturing came to ask her from a you know what do you mean? For what? Now he knew, didn't care. It wasn't important to him. He was a humble person. Now, when a person thinks of an onav, a humble person, so if I were to ask you, two people come into a party. One person comes in, sneaks along the side of the wall, apologizes to everybody for getting in their way, takes a cup of soda and stands to the side drinking it. Another person walks in and says, hey, Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? I haven't seen such a long time. Oh, a party, I'm a chayik, up to a party. Which one's the onav? So people will say, well, the man who's slunk in and doesn't want it to attract attention to himself. Yet if you look, who is the premier onav in history? Who is the most humble man who ever lived? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu. What are you hitting that guy for? He kills him. He goes to Pharaoh, you better let them go out or we're going to crush you. Where's the humility? Where's the shyness? Teretz is, and Onav says, I don't matter. Let's say I'll say something to someone, and they'll look at me like, what's wrong with you? But that doesn't matter. It's the right thing to greet someone. So I will greet him. He'll think I'm nuts. It doesn't matter. I will greet him because it's the right thing to do. And I don't count. How many times, boys in yeshiva, you see a boy has a big mouth, and he makes fun of somebody, and you think it's wrong, but you're afraid to say something because maybe he'll turn on me next. But an Onav doesn't have that fear. Maybe he will turn on me. Maybe he'll even attack me. But it doesn't matter because it's not a me, it's not about me. David Trenk was an Onav. He was an emes Onav. You think he didn't know that people thought that things were nutty? He knew, but he thought it's going to help. It's going to be good. He's going to dance by Kabbalah Shabbos. Does he want it? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But it's the right thing to do. A boy in yeshiva is smoking. He couldn't stand that they would smoke. He couldn't take it. He once raced the guy. And he beat him. He said, you know why? Because I don't smoke and you do smoke. He couldn't abide it. A boy was caught smoking. He put him in his car, drove straight to Brooklyn, dropped him off at his house. You can't smoke. Another boy, he smoked all the time. He used to go to the woods. Nobody knew. He'd been smoking since he was a little boy. And Dovid Train knew. Dovid Train knew, but he wouldn't throw him out. Because this boy needs this, and that boy needs that. And there's no set of rules that says, this is what you do when this happens. Every situation was gauged. What's the best thing for this boy? Not what's the yeshiva's rules, it's what's the best thing for him. And that's what he would do. He was devoted to the children. say the children because one of my children mentioned to me, they learned a lot of words. They learned a lot of words from Rabbi Train. He's going to take out the refuse. He wouldn't say the word. He was so fine. He wouldn't use words that were not naim, that were not refined. He's going to take the refuse. Garbage is such a terrible word. He wouldn't use that type of word. It wasn't in his vocabulary. He was so sensitive to even things like that. We lived in Adelphia. You think Carteret is small? Adelphia was small also. We were closer to Lakewood, but Adelphia was small. And everyone, all the children, felt a personal connection to Dovid Trenk. He could talk to them as they were. He never talked down to anybody. He didn't care if you made fun of him teaching Yavamas with little dolls, little menchies. I don't know what they call them now, right? See, he'd show the relationships in Yavamas. This one's married to this one's brother, and this one's so everybody's laughing, ha ha ha, playing with menchies, but everybody knew the Gemara. He was a good teacher. He wasn't just a showman. He was a good Rebbe, not just because he cared into it. He was a good teacher. He got the information across to you. I got closer with him in 1977. I got married in 1975. 1976, didn't go to Camp Monk. 1977, we went back. And Camp Monk at that time did not have washing machines and dryers in the camp. So what did one do? So one went to the laundromat. So Dovid Train and I would go to the laundromat early in the morning before davening to do the laundry. And we spent time talking. And one time I asked him, you know, I'm a young man. I'm thinking of going into chinuch. How do you teach for 20 years and not burn out? And not figure, okay, I can't do this anymore. What do you do to keep that freshness? You know what he answered me? Zero. He didn't say a single word. He did not know what I was talking about. He didn't know what on earth do you mean. He didn't express it. What do you mean, you won't like teaching anymore? You won't like dealing with children? What do you mean, what was it? What are you talking about? What is burnout? He had no clue what I meant. He never answered me because he had no idea. Burnout? From what? Dovid Trenk was a fixture in Camp Monk. I still remember over the microphone and calling out. Now, it could be a change in later years. I left Camp Monk a long time ago. I'm in Camp Bunim, Ni, Na'arim for 40 years. So I'm gone from Camp Monk a long time. But in my days, at 3 p.m., milk, and cookies. Come and get the milk and cookies. Gave him out. He marked third activity, or he checked it. Sometimes he had to be the late OD. Late OD means you're on duty. Means till 2 o'clock in the morning you wander around the camp to make sure that they're not burning down the bunks or any other childish fun. I once said to him, "Why do you keep coming back here? You work like a schwanzer. You're up in the morning early. You teach Masmidim afterwards. You're busy with milk and cookies. You check third activity. You have to go till 2 o'clock in the morning OD. What are you doing this for?" He said to me, "Are you kidding me?" it's not mine. I don't have to worry about it. Let's say they come in at 12 o'clock. That's fine. It's not my headache. It's so relaxing. When he was in yeshiva, every kid of every second was on his mind. You think I'm being magazic? You think I'm exaggerating? I have to tell you something. When I first came to Adelphia, I didn't have a place to live. I lived in Baltimore, and I was teaching in Adelphia. They wanted me to live on campus, but there was no place yet. We were looking in Lakewood for a place to live, and having a hard time finding something. So I commuted. I went home each weekend. But during the week, I stayed in the house of Rabbi and Rebbetzin in Trenk. His schedule at that time, he'd get up about 5 o'clock in the morning and learn. 7 o'clock or 7:10, he would go to the dormitory to wake the boys up. He came back to davening, had his talis and tefillin on, and davened b'kol ram, every single word enunciated clearly. In the middle of Psukei Zimra, he would go back to the dormitory to wake up the rest of the minyan. Then davening was over. He sat down for 12 minutes and learned Parshat Shavua with his boys. After that was breakfast. He went to the dining room and stood behind the waiters, making sure every boy got food. Then, first Seder, I remember 9:30, 9:15. He taught till 11:15, a break for 20 minutes. Then he taught till, I don't remember, 10 to 1, a quarter to 1. Then he went to the dining room and stood behind the waiters and made sure everyone got lunch. You're not eating? Why not eating? Well, here, take this, try this one. Then is mincha. B'kol ram mila b'mila. Then his second Seder. He taught till 2:30. Now when the rest of us are collapsing, he's the English principal. He was the principal of the secular studies. He was there around the classroom, talking to the teachers, handling discipline problems, because you may or may not notice, but sometimes there would be a discipline problem in Adelphia. You probably can't imagine that. There were times when the children got rambunctious, and there needed to be a calming influence. 6:30 English is over, supper time. Rabbi Train's back in the dining room for supper, making sure every boy has. Every night Seder, so each one of us, I was the 10th grade Rebbe, it was 11th grade and 12th grade. Each one had to be a night Seder every third night, except for Rabbi Train, who was there every single night Seder. An exhausting schedule for any human being. After Ma'ariv, he has a break. 10 o'clock, back to the dormitory. He's the dormitory supervisor until 1 in the morning. And then he'd finally come home, and I don't know what he did, pass out. I don't know. It's lo ye'umen ki yesupar. It's almost impossible to believe. He was so tired. I was at the Trenk home for, I don't remember why, for a Shabbos. Maybe it was Shabbos Shuvah. I don't remember. It was before we moved. I was there for a Shabbos. And he was so tired. His head kept drooping, kept falling down into the, and he was exhausted. Suddenly, you heard footsteps quickly hurrying toward his house. He jumped up. Somebody's been hurt. He runs to the door, throws it open, and there's a boy, Rebbe, down the street, the guy, boom, he was out of the house, all the way down 524, making it. What happened? That was it. I mean, you're exhausted. But you're fully about, what do you think happened? What do you think, somebody killed somebody? And the kids, he threw something at them. He was there. He was always there. Once there was a political disagreement. I say political, I don't mean really. there was a sechsuch in the Welt between the Lubavitcher Rebbe and Rav Shach. And someone said something, I don't know if it's true or not true, but in the Lubavitcher Rebbe's name, something negative was said about Rav Shach. And Rabbi Svei made an asifa in Brooklyn to stand up for the honor of the Gadol Hadar. So it happened to be a weekend off for us. So I said to the boys, you're going to be in Brooklyn, and Rabbi Eli is going to speak. There was a time years ago where Rabbi Aaron had an asifa, he talked about college. It was like a fundamental, classic happening. You're going to be there anyway, so why not go and hear Rabbi Eli speak? So later, I talked it over with Rabbi Dovid. He said, I never would have done that. I would never have suggested they go to that. I said, but why? Rabbi Eli is talking for Kavod Torah. He said, the children do not understand such things. They don't get it. And all they'll get from it is confusion. There's no mila at all. Okay, I was 28, so I knew everything. He's an older man, must have been 38, 39. So of course I know better than him. So I was nonplussed. A week or so later, a boy in my class came over and said, Rebbe, I don't understand something. There's a guy on my block. He's a Lubavitcher. He goes to shul every day. He shops in the same kosher food stores that we do. He's no good. David Trenk would never talk about these things. What do children have to get involved in this nonsense for? He was so right. He was so right. We were once coming back from Great Adventure. He organized a trip for the children to go to Great Adventure. And it was a long day. We're coming back. I was sitting next to him on the bus. I said, you know that tomorrow it will be Kamandalesa. It will be like we did nothing. It will be like, what have you done for me lately? He just looked at me and smiled. Who cares? This was a good thing for them. And therefore we're doing it. I'd like to read you a Gemara. It's in Baba Basra, Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, B'ram Zachor Oiso Ha'ish Latoiv. Let's remember this man, Latoiv, Yoshua ben Gamla Shmai. His name is Yoshua ben Gamla. He was one of the Kohanim Gedola, and he should be remembered everlastingly for good. She'il Malehu, because if not for this man, Yoshua ben Gamla, Nishtakach Torah mi Yisrael, the Torah would have been forgotten from the Jewish people. Shebet Chila, because in the beginning, Mish Yesh Loi Av Malamdei Torah. If a person had a father, the father taught his son Torah. Misha Ein Loi Av, someone who didn't have a father, Lo Haya Loi Met Torah, he couldn't learn. My Dorish, why did they do this? Limatem my son, limatem, you should teach your own children. Hiskinu, they made a decree, that you should make schools in Jerusalem. My Dorish, what was the drasha? What was the adder? But still, whoever had a father, Malo umalamdai, would bring him up there and he should learn by the Malamed. Misha loyav, someone who had no father, lo hoya didn't go up to Yerushalayim. Voloma. Hiskinu, they made a decree. Shumoshiva b'chol plach u'plach. In every region there should be a school. They bring him in at 16 or 17. That didn't work too good. Mishoya Rabbi Kayas Allah, anybody the Rebbe got angry at, Mabit Bo, the kid would kick, the Yotzad and he'd leave. That's it. I don't need you. I'm 17 years old. Ever heard of such a thing? I'm 70, I know what I'm doing, I don't need you. Ad sheba Yeshua ben Gam. Tiken shiu moshivim olam di tinoikos b'chol medina b'chol ir v'ir machnius so keben sheish keben sheva. He made elementary schools, he made them in every place. Rav Weinberg, the second Rosh Yeshiva in Yisrael, Zatzal, asked a very powerful question. Rav Weinberg asked, why, if not for Yeshua ben Gamla, would the Torah have been forgotten? People have fathers. There's children whose fathers are teaching them. Okay, so the ones who don't have fathers will not. Why will the Torah be forgotten in Israel? Somebody's going to have a father. Rav Weinberg said, a Torah that doesn't care if there's people who don't have, has no kiyum. A Torah that doesn't care that there are people who can't learn. That kind of Torah Hashem doesn't need. And if you don't take care of those assignments, if you don't take care of those children who don't have, I don't want you. So, Baram, Zachary Shaltayv, Yeshua ben Gamla, because he took care of them. Does that mean that every Yosem learned? I don't know. But there was a Hetemsa for it. Everyone knows that David Trenk went to the Torah conventions and he stood up, which I don't believe was easy for him. And to Gedola Yisrael, he mourned them. What are you going to do about those children? What are you going to do about kids who don't have? Well, we can't do it. We're not equipped. You, why don't you do it? Why don't you take it? Why don't you take it? Why don't you? Adelphi wasn't a giant yeshiva. But they took in good boys. They took in boys who were having difficulties. Took in boys who were not having difficulties. Who knows why now there's 9,000 people in Lakewood learning? Who knows why there's 7,000 people in Mir Yerushalayim? When I came to Adelphia, there were 1,500 Talmidim in Lakewood. Who knows why there's Kiyum of Torah in the world? Who knows why Eretz Yisrael is bubbling out with Torah? You walk in the streets, you see people talking learning. You walk in the store. It didn't used to be like that. It didn't used to be like that. Well, you mean this man sitting in his little vinkel, teaching with his little menchies, and going to Torah convention, and begging and pleading with the leaders of the generation to care about these children? Do you know what caused the flowering of Torah? I don't know. I don't know. But Chazal tell us, Ilmali Yeshua ben Gamla, Nishtakach Torah mi-Yisrael. The Gemara continues a drop, which I think is also apropos. They brought in children 6 or 7 years old. Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas was a famous mechanech. He said to him, Rav told him, Ad Shis, till 6 years old, lo takbil. Don't take them into the school. They have to be home by mommy. Don't take them in. Mikan v'elech, from then, they're over 6. Kabil, take them. V'yas v'lei keturah, stuff them like an ox. Force feed. Jam as much Torah as you can into them. V'yomer le'Rav Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas, Ki mochis li'enuka, when you have to hit a child, Lo timchi ela baraksa de besana. Hit him with a shoelace. Don't hit him with anything more painful than a shoelace. Now listen to this. The kari. If they learn, they learn. The lo kari, lavetzavsa lechavre. If they don't learn, don't throw them out. Let them be there. They'll be part of the population. They'll be company for the others. You don't have to throw them out. Rashi says it straight out. You don't have to hit them. It's not going in. You don't have to hit them. Don't throw them out. Let them sit with the others. In the end, maybe it'll open up. I remember a boy in Adelphia was in my class. He didn't understand anything. It was so sad. He tried so hard, and it just didn't go in. He was by Rabbi Dovid. I don't know what he did. Maybe he did get something in. By me, he couldn't understand the Kavachayim. He couldn't understand the simplest thing. Such a nice boy. He tried so hard. He went to the 11th grade. And his schedule was he would eat and sleep. Meaning, he was in the Beis Medrash from davening. He'd go to eat breakfast and back to the Beis Medrash. Go to eat lunch and back to the Beis Medrash. Go to eat supper and back to the Beis Medrash. He didn't stop. It was so sad. He tried so hard. It was in 12th grade. That year, don't ask me why, we were learning Chulin. And he came over to me with a kasha. I said, this is a good kasha. This is really a good kasha. They must ask this kasha. I found one of the Achronim, the Mishkan Yaakov. He asked the kasha. But it was a long, complicated teretz, and he's never going to understand this thing. But I owe it to him. He asked the kasha, right? So I gotta teach him the teretz. So I sat down with him and I read through the shtickle. So at the end, he said to me, let me make sure I got this straight. And then he said it back, bal pad, organized with every point covered. I just looked at him. He said, did I say something wrong? I said, no. And he walked away. I couldn't even move. I don't know what on earth happened? This guy's a Rebbe in Eretz Yisrael now. Nobody would take this kid. Nobody wanted him. What do you mean? It's like Elizabeth Horkinus, right? As far as that you'll get married, your children will learn. Well, what do you want? You have no head. What are you going to do? Rabbi Train didn't believe that. He didn't believe there's such a thing as having no head. He didn't believe that every single person can't have a chelik in Torah. I personally was having a difficult time at one time financially. It was very, very difficult. And I was advised to look for an afternoon job in Lakewood to teach in the Cheder, teach English. And I didn't really have much of a choice because I didn't have enough money to pay my tuitions. And I was ready to make the phone calls. I had been called before, and I always said no, and now I was going to make the phone call. David Trenk heard about it. He said, no, you teach English by me. Then come here. How much can you pay? We can't pay anything. I said, but I can't cover the tuitions. He said, I'll take care of it. He covered all the tuitions of all my kids because I taught for an hour and a half in the afternoon. As my children left school, they got older, so there's less tuitions. So he got the money to me. You'll teach Mesivta once a week, and we'll get you the money for that. And because of that, I was able to stay in the yeshiva for a number of years. Nobody knew. Nobody would, no big tarams. You don't even have a saga how many other people he helped and helped and helped. I used to beg him to close his yeshiva. I have to admit it. As I used to beg him. I said, what do you want? What do you want? He said, I want to have a place for these boys. I said, you can't have it. Nobody's sending to you. It's a stigma. Don't you understand? They don't want it. What would you like to do instead? Would you like to help children? Go to the lake and take 10 kids, bring them to a shul, and learn with them in the morning. Then send them off, go back to the lake in the afternoon, take 10 kids, and learn with them. You'll be a hero. You'll be beloved in lake rather than, I can't go to Trenk. You'll be a hero. What do you need it for? I want a place for boys to be able to go. My children loved him. All the children loved him. What should you do to somehow, what like Rabbi Meir said? I don't know. He loved to daven. He loved to learn. He loved to help people. They had very beautiful articles in the Yated this week. I imagine the other newspapers will carry other beautiful things. And there's stories and stories and stories, but can you ever touch up such a person? A shy person, a humble person who made himself not shy, who forced himself to be in the forefront to defend any underdog, anybody who didn't have or wasn't able, he was there for them. He always had he had a listening ear. He was not a nar. He was a person who knew what people were. He understood exactly what people were, and he didn't care. He didn't care. He chose to focus on their qualities and what they could be. I miss him. What should I tell you?